Hey students, how you doing? I hope you're enjoying your Veterans Day weekend. This is our first lesson of Chapter 5B. This is meant to actually set us up for what we're going to be doing in class on Monday. So it's important for you to actually have this worksheet done by Monday. Now, I strongly recommend try out the solving for why worksheet first. If you're able to do all the problems, you probably don't need this video. But if you are getting stuck on these problems, check out this video. Maybe there's an example in here that'll help you out. Anyway, example number 1, I am trying to solve this equation for y. And just whenever I work algebra equations, it is your order of operations, but in reverse. So look, is there any addition or subtraction that could be done? Well, I see a minus 4, so I could add 4 to both sides. So x plus 4 equals y over 3. Now to get y by itself, I'd move into multiplying and dividing. And the opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying by 3. So if I multiplied both sides by 3, make sure to put parentheses around the x plus 4, you end up with y, now it's by itself, 3 parentheses x plus 4. I think this is a perfectly acceptable answer, but some people prefer the y to be on the left. Some people prefer to distribute. So I think both of these answers are acceptable. Let's move on to example 2. Now on this one, instead of the fraction being over just one of the variables, it's over the entire thing. So I do have an addition or subtraction to do, but this 10y minus 3, because it's on a division bar, actually acts like a set of parentheses. So if I'm going to do the parentheses last, what I can do before that is dealing with this divide by 5, and I can do that by multiplying both sides by 5. On one side I get 5x, on the other side the 5's cancel out and I'm left with 10y minus 3. Now that the thing that had the parentheses is by itself, that 10y minus 3, we go back to the bottom of your order of operations, and now I have some addition subtraction I could do. I add 3 to both sides, so 10y equals 5x plus 3. I divide everything in the equation by 10, and y equals a couple different answers. You could write it as 5x plus 3 all divided by 10. You could flip it around saying the same thing. Now if you're going to divide by 10, you should divide both of these individually. 5 divided by 10 is 1/2, so it would be 1/2 x, plus 3 divided by 10 is 3 over 10. Now if I'm going to graph it, maybe I'd want to use this as the equation, but if I'm just trying to get y by itself, this works too. So kind of depends to you how far you really want to simplify these. Example 3, a square root problem. Well, it's squared problem, but you want to do a squared by square rooting. So bottom of my order of operations is addition or subtraction. So I add 4 to both sides. Over here I have x plus 4. Over here I have 3y squared. Next I have some division I could do. I have 3 times y squared. So I divide both sides by 3, and I get y squared equals x plus 4 divided by 3. Finally, I square root both sides, and when I square root both sides, the square root of something squared is the absolute value of that thing. On the other side, I have the square root of x plus 4 divided by 3. And then finally, like we've done before, if you can drop the absolute value, it's just the other side then has the option of being positive, negative. So it's positive, negative x plus 4 divided by 3. Last example, a squared problem. First, I'd want to multiply. You want to, if it's a square root problem, we're going to want to square both sides. But it's in your best interests, usually, to get the square root thing by itself, then square both sides. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3 first. and I get 3x equals square root 3y plus 7. Now I have I have the square root isolated on one side, and you undo a square root by squaring. I square 3x, that becomes 9x squared. The other side, 3y plus 7. And then, let's see, subtract 7 from both sides. So 9x squared minus 7 equals 3y. Divide everything by 3. And I'd end up with 9x squared minus 7 all over 3. And I would leave my answer like that. Suppose my answer at the end was y equals like 8x squared minus 4 all over 2. Well, seeing as 8 and 2 divides and 4 and 2 divides, if I got an answer like this, I would leave it, you should take it further and go 4x minus 2. But in a case like this, because the 7 and the 3 don't divide evenly, I'd be tempted to leave my answer just like that. Anyway, students, like I said at the beginning of this lesson, make sure that you can solve these solve by y problems by the time you get to class on Monday. In class on Monday, the first thing I'm going to do is ask you if you have any questions on your, from the Solving for Y worksheet. So do your best job on it. Have a great weekend, and let's go USA. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.